I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Thank you all so much for being here. Today, I wanted to talk about a case that is right, not quite near, but it's a Virginia case, and it was a cold case. I remember when the mother and her daughter went missing years ago, because this case is over 7 years old, and they recently made an arrest in the case. And then I also want to talk about the Zizian cult, and that was something that just popped up. I got an alert that a leader from that group had been arrested, and so those are the two things that we'll be talking about today. Welcome. Let me know if y'all have any questions or anything. The first three in the chat are BGOG, and we also have Queen Olive and also Christy. Welcome, welcome, Ashton. So thank y'all for joining. In this first case, like I said, this is a cold case out of Virginia. Let me share my screen. And we are going to watch the press conference. And I thought it was interesting that in Virginia there are regulations about uh, lawyers not being able to talk about cases that they're actively working on. And the individual leading the press conference, I believe it's the Newport News Attorney General, is going to mention that. So first, this video gives a good case overview. And so this is the story of a missing Hampton mother um, out of Virginia. So let's watch this real quick.
Months after the disappearance of Keir and Chloe Johnson, the family of the missing mother and daughter are speaking out.
We first told you about their disappearance in May. Hampton police say the two were last seen April 30th leaving their home on Hastings Drive. Now, police passed the investigation on to Newport News Police after the car the two were believed to be in was found in the city.
And that is where 10 on your side's Jason Marks is this afternoon. After months of searching, Jason, what's the family saying now?
Guys, you know, it's been hard to believe. It's 7 months ago since we first reported this story about Keir and Chloe going missing. You know, the family's been through an awful lot looking for them, and authorities still believe that they still could be alive, and they're really hoping that that's the case. But the family made another plea today.
And just an update. So this is a news report from 7 years ago, and just yesterday there was an arrest in the case, and it is the father of the 8-month-old that was arrested. Me too. I was really hoping that they would be found alive, or at least that their bodies would be recovered. So the police still have not recovered the bodies of 8-month-old Chloe and also the mother. They have not been recovered, but the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend, he has been charged with, and the father of Chloe has been charged with their murder. All right, we're going to keep this going.
Hoping for those answers that everyone is looking for. As we mentioned, Keir was 34 when she went missing. She's now 35. Chloe was 8 months old when she went missing. She's now 1 year old. Chloe, and they were last seen, as you mentioned, leaving their home on Hastings Drive. That was May 30th, and that was in Hampton. They were headed to Buckrow Beach, where Keir was going to take Chloe for a walk. At first, Hampton police were leading this investigation, but that job was taken over by Newport News investigators after Keir's car was found in Newport News. Now, we're told it's very unusual for Keir not to contact her family. Newport News today said they've logged more than 5,000 hours in this case. Police are getting help.
So Kira has a twin sister, and I believe that may be her twin sister.
Now from federal investigators. Keir family says they know someone out there has that information that they're looking for.
If anyone know anything at all concerning my daughter and my granddaughter, please come forth and tell what happened, who it is, and where they are, so I can bring them home, because they need to be with their family.
And we know that Newport News investigators have served several search warrants over the last couple months. Obviously, they've interviewed everyone who was close to Keir or Chloe, but still no arrests have been made. And no.
All right, so now we're going to switch over to the more recent press conference. So this was, I believe, from yesterday, and this is for Newport News. And so if you don't know the Hampton Roads, if you don't know this area, Hampton Roads, so there are multiple cities that are really close together. Williamsburg, Newport News, Hampton, York County, Yorktown, Poquoson, and then you cross a bridge and you get to Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Norfolk. So they often talk about the 7 cities or Hampton Roads. That's often what it's referred to in general. And Keir lived in Hampton, and her car was recovered in Newport News. And the individuals handling the case, because it looks like he's been charged in Newport News. So let's go ahead and watch this press conference. The full links will be down in the description. I might skip through just a few parts as we watch.
Good afternoon. Are we ready? Good afternoon. My name is Howard Gwynn. I'm the co-host.
If you have on headphones, it might only be coming in because it's only coming in my right headphone. So if it sounds weird, I'm only hearing it on the right.
For the city of Newport News, and what we're here today for is to make an announcement in a very important case here in Newport News. The first thing I want to do is let folk know that ethically I can't talk about the facts of this particular case, and I will tell you why in just a second. There's a rule of professional responsibility for lawyers in Virginia. It's Rule 3.6. It's titled Trial Publicity, and it says, quote, a lawyer participating in or associated with the investigation or the prosecution or the defense of a criminal matter that may be tried by a jury shall not make or participate in making an extrajudicial statement that a reasonable person would expect to be disseminated by means of public communication that the lawyer knows or should know will have a substantial likelihood of interfering with the fairness of the trial by a jury. A lawyer shall.
And I just want to say, so the individual involved, he has been charged, and we know people are innocent until proven guilty. Or until a jury decides if they're innocent or guilty. And he has been arrested. And once again, it's the father of Chloe, the ex-boyfriend of Keir, mom, the mother of Chloe.
To exercise reasonable care to prevent employees and associates from making an extrajudicial statement that the lawyer would be prohibited from making under the rule. So again, I'm not going to answer any questions about the case because of that rule, because I don't want to run afoul of it. But the purpose of this meeting today is to announce that, as you know, back on April 30th of 2017, Keir Johnson and 8-month-old daughter Chloe disappeared, and they have not been seen since that time. We have been working very diligently on that case since that time, and I'm happy to announce that last Friday around noon, Carlos Johnson, who is Chloe's father, was arrested.
And I just want to show the arrest picture. So this is the picture of Carlos Johnson Jr. And I have the link to this article down in the description as well.
In a traffic stop on the interstate in the city of Newport News. This case has required an incredible amount of work. If you look to my left, you see a cart full of binders. Each one of those binders represents evidence in this particular case. There are 21 of them. There are also a bunch of thumb drives that represent all the hard work that members of the Newport News Police Department, the state police, the FBI, and the Attorney General's office have put into this case.
And the reason he's saying this is because the community was very skeptical. So like people were dragging Newport News through the mud. Like people, people weren't aware of the time and energy that was being put into this case. Sometimes when cases involve a a Black mother or a Black woman, sometimes communities can feel like it doesn't get as much publicity or it doesn't get as much attention. The thing that I will say about this case is this case was highly publicized. I saw it all over, and I know it's late, and and I'm sure the family is looking to get justice as soon as possible because the individual that's been charged, nothing's really happened with him for the last 7, almost 8 years. All right, so I'm gonna make myself small and go back to the press conference.
And so for the last 7 years, I want everybody to know we haven't been sitting on our hands, but the focus of everything that we've done has been to bring the person responsible for the murder of these two beautiful people to justice. The next thing I want to do is introduce the persons that are standing behind me. To my left is Jacqueline Edwards, who's one of the lawyers in my staff who's on the team in this case. Behind her is Molly Newton from the Attorney General's office, who's also on our team. Valerie Muth is one of my deputies who's the chief of Newport News. Lewis, and this without the Attorney General opportunity to make remarks.
Thank you, and I want to thank Commonwealth's Attorney Howard Gwynn for his incredible work and partnership in this matter. When I took office as Attorney General, I recognized the pressing need.
And so I believe this is our state attorney general that's making these remarks. I believe that the prior gentleman, he is the Newport News, like he's the local attorney general, and the individual speaking now is the elected state attorney general.
To address and invest in unresolved cases throughout the Commonwealth. Because oftentimes when you talk to victims and their families, their biggest fear is that their loved one will just become a statistic, just another number, and that they will be forgotten. This led, obviously, to a reorganization of my office early on in my administration.
Okay. And so he's gonna talk about those things. I'm gonna skip ahead to statements from the officer. Let's see.
Well, I'm just going to have a few remarks. I appreciate you joining us today on this holiday. The first thought goes to Keir and Chloe's family, a beautiful little girl and her family. We were able to talk to their family over the weekend and Friday. We had our police academy graduation Friday, and at the same time that was going on, like Mr. Gwynn stated, about 12:30, our suspect was taken into custody. It was very strategic in how that played out. Again, we can't go into those cases, but he was taken into custody without incident. Later that evening, we were able to make contact with the family and share that news with them. And I too would like to thank the Commonwealth Attorney General for their partnerships and relationship. I think that has made all the difference. I'd also like to thank Amber Rogers, Aaron Thornton, and the whole detective division is both.
Okay. And so they're sharing just how they worked on the case. So the individual that's been charged is the father of the 8-month-old. There is probably digital evidence we will see when the case starts. This will be a case that I will follow. I'm not sure if it will be streamed, but if it's not streamed, I will keep up to date with the reportings on this case. My heart breaks for the family. I do hope that that they can recover the bodies. It's very difficult psychologically when somebody has to grieve the loss of a family member and they don't get to say goodbye. They don't get the individual's body, because there's a part of the brain that will still hope and wish that they're still here. There's something about recovering the body that can sometimes just help give people additional closure. I'm sure the family hopes and prays that they were alive, but I think they've accepted over these 7 years that that both Chloe and Keir were likely had their lives ended way too early. And so I truly do. I wish the family all the best. We saw in another case, so I covered the case of Jay Lee here. That's a case out of Mississippi. And the first trial, the individual charged with his murder, he ended up being acquitted, where the jury was hung and they weren't able to come to a final decision. But his body was recovered, and there will be a new trial for y'all know me in names. Who's the individual on me and names? Timothy Harrington is charged with the murder of Ole Miss student Jimmy J. Lee, and the family was able to have a celebration of life and to lay J. Lee to rest. And the defense strategy might be different, because I think a part of the defense's thing was like, oh, how can we, like, we don't even have a body, and who knows what evidence will be recovered. And so I will definitely be following that case. I am looking forward to that. And then Danielle, thank you for sharing this, that you lost both parents at an early age, and it really does affect everyday life. And so that whole unknown factor, like, it makes it hard to grieve, because you don't get to say goodbye. And sometimes in trials, in cases like this, sometimes the defendant will be offered, like, we'll take the death penalty. So Virginia, I'm almost positive. Let me see if Virginia has the death penalty. Let me see. Because sometimes they take something off the table. Capital punishment in Virginia was abolished in 2021. All right. All right. So death penalty will not be an option, but so life without the possibility of parole or life will likely be what he's facing, with 2 counts of murder in the first degree, is my understanding of what he's charged with. And it's my understanding that he's being held without bail. Let's see. So now, have y'all heard of the Zizian cult? Like, I hadn't even heard of this, and I was just scrolling. Um, I think there is I think the leader might also be trans, and I don't think that I don't think that so individuals that are LGBTQ are not necessarily more or less likely to commit crimes, because sometimes that becomes the big part of the headline, and so I wanted to mention that part. So here is an article it's a story on the Zizian cult.
In tonight's big story, the history of the group known as the Zizians, that some have described as a possible cult, and just how Vermont becomes part of this intricate web. We told you last night 2 people involved in the shooting death of a Border Patrol agent, David Mayland, could have ties to the group. But the questions: how did the group start, and how did they get here? ABC 22's Matt Holderman spoke with investigative reporters around the country to try and answer some of those questions for us. He is now live in the newsroom.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, the full known history of the Zizians starts in 2019 in California with its alleged leader, Jack Ziz Lasota. Ziz and some of his alleged followers.
I'm going to show y'all a picture, because I believe he was arrested in Maryland. So let's see. I want to get a different source. Baltimore News, sure. So let's share this tab. Let's share this tab. So, okay, so there's Michelle, there's Jack in the middle. So Jack Ziz Lasota is right here in the middle. And Zizian, like, I had never heard of this group before until I got a news alert for some arrests that were made today in Maryland.
Staged a protest standing up for their beliefs, and the story gets progressively more violent from there.
I just happened to be the reporter here at the Chronicle that covered this bizarre protest.
Matthias Gaffney is an investigative reporter with the San Francisco Chronicle who unknowingly stumbled upon what would become one of the most bizarre investigations of his career back in 2019. Jack Ziz Lasota, a transgender tech whiz and devout vegan who had recently moved to the Bay Area, organized a group of people similar to him to protest a rationalist reunion.
They showed up there in all black robes and Guy Fawkes masks with a school bus and a flatbed truck. They blocked the entrance and exit to this place and started handing out flyers. Now we know these years later that that was really a launching point.
Fast forwarding to 2022, according to reports, Lasota and his associates bought a World War II tugboat in Alaska and sailed it down to San Francisco Bay with plans to live on it. But eventually the boat sank and the group abandoned it.
His supporters and friends and family in California in the Bay Area had alleged that he died in a boating accident, and even his counsel told the court that.
And the attorney told the judge that his client, Jack Lasota, was dead.
The people who were on the boat with Lasota then turned to a landlord they met in the marina, Curtis Lind. According to court documents, after renting from Lind in Vallejo for a while, the group attacked him with knives and a samurai sword in November, with Lind fighting back, shooting and killing one of them, Emma Borhanian. About a month and a half later, a set of murders happened in Pennsylvania that seem unconnected on the surface until police arrested someone on an obstruction charge, Jack Ziz Lasota.
According to the police record, he acted very bizarre. He pretended to be dead. The staff had
And so far, they've connected this group to possibly seven murders across the United States. So
hold him up for the photo.
Lasota's bail was eventually lowered to $10,000 in 2023, which he paid and got out. Lasota hasn't been seen since, but Zizian activity may still be ongoing. This year, Curtis Lind was set to testify as the lone witness in his own attempted murder case. And with a fading memory, his attorney filed paperwork to move his testimony up to happen as soon as possible. But on January 17th, Lind was found dead.
Literally the next day, prosecutors alleged that Maximilian Snyder walked up to him in a cul-de-sac just outside of his property in Vallejo and stabbed him to death.
He was the sole witness to one of their attacks, and that witness has now been murdered.
Then just 3 days later was the deadly shootout in Vermont between U.S. Border Patrol agents and the team of Teresa Youngblood and Felix Bachholt, who allegedly preferred the names Milo and Ophelia. Youngblood had filed for a marriage license with Snyder, the man accused of killing Lind in Vallejo. It was at this point some of the possible connections became clear, especially with court documents suggesting Youngblood could be linked to other violent cases across the nation.
What's scary about it is that there are people who are at large. It almost sounds like it's been written by AI. It's so unbelievable that if the allegations are true, there was an extremist cult killing people for several years, and federal authorities completely missed the seriousness of this.
Now, Maximilian Snyder and Teresa Youngblood both have more court dates coming up. Snyder.
And like I mentioned, so there were some arrests in Maryland. So I got a question about how to find a therapist. And the reason why I asked what state, because so the site that I use the most is Psychology Today. And if you just Google online, let me see, online therapist, Portland, Oregon. Psychology Today will be one of the top searches. So skip over BetterHelp. We've already talked about it before. I am not a fan personally. This is my own personal thing. I'm not a fan of BetterHelp. And you can filter it by people online. And there are some additional filters. Let me just make sure this is showing up. Yes. So you can filter, let's say it's I prefer so you can pick any preferences, you can click any presenting issues, and you can click your insurance. So the insurance is an important one if you plan to be using insurance. If you have Medicaid, I would click here. And if you have a type of Medicaid, sometimes clicking, because I think you can click more than one field there. And this site allows you to message therapists. Now, therapists have to pay to be listed on this directory. It's free for clients to use, but therapists pay. So I personally, I do not advertise or market myself on Psychology Today. When I started my practice, I did. But once I got fully booked, it didn't make sense for me to pay, and I wasn't accepting new clients. So I accept insurance, and I'm on multiple insurance directories. If you're looking for free or reduced, openpathcollective.com. If you're looking for free or reduced, I'm not free, sorry, I said free, it's not free. If you're looking for services between $30 to $70 a session, openpathcollective.com is a great resource. Student intern just means that they are working, that maybe they are a master's level student. They do have licensed therapists on here. So this is a licensed therapist, and you can sort by your city, zip code, by your state. And then this also lets you click through some different things. Another site that I often use is called Therapy Den. So therapyden.com, because here, once again, you can sort by specialty, your zip code, and you can select your insurance. And this is a free website. So sometimes you will see more therapists. If you're looking for a therapist from a particular group, from a particular background, and on Psychology Today, sometimes you can find therapists with sliding scale or therapists that offer reduced services. So there are other sites that you can use. If you have local mental health clinics, or if there are school clinics. So where I got my doctorate, I went to Regent University to get my doctorate. It was our second year. It was our second year we worked in the clinic. Yes, our second year we worked in the clinic. Our third year we had an offsite practicum. Our fourth year was working on our dissertation, preparing for, there was a bunch of preparation stuff. And then our fifth year was a year-long internship. And so there were reduced services offered at our clinic. If you are a university student, often you might be able to get free mental health counseling at your university clinic. All right. So I hope that's helpful. Danielle, that's awesome that you have a therapist that only charges $15 a session. That is huge. And for people in remote areas, because they just have to be licensed in the state of Oregon if you're doing telehealth. And most therapists offer virtual, so you just need somebody that's licensed in your state if you're looking for that. All right. Okay. So that was your copay. So that was your copay. I work with some people that they have a deductible, and their deductible would be $150 or $140 a session. And so sometimes we talk about doing a reduced service that doesn't use, but like we talk about it, because if we do less than my contract rate with the insurance company, then they opt out of using their insurance. And then we set a rate that we agree on. You're in Nova. Well, so I'm in Nova as well. We have a few faith affiliated clinics who do income based. Yes. So if people are open to doing faith affiliated clinics, because like our church has a counseling center. Sometimes people they're not comfortable going and doing that. If I needed so when I do therapy, I normally find an independent outpatient I normally find a therapist that I'm not going to bump into if at all possible. So I'm glad that we were able to chat today. Later this week, so I will be going live again on Saturday. I am keeping an eye on a few different cases. Thank y'all for joining the chat over on Sofa on reporting live from my sofa with Paul. It was really great to get to be on his stream. And there's going to be a live video coming. No, there's our pre-recorded video, I think, is going to be released on Sunday. So I will share the link to that video. It's covering the same case, and it's a lot of the similar things that we said during the live recording. But if you wanted to check out that video, yes. So it was super fun. So I was able to see y'all in the chat, and we are definitely going to collaborate again, possibly on the Chloe Driver case, or maybe, talking Sarah Boone again, or there might be like a current case that we collaborate for. He's going to be watching the new documentary. There's a documentary on Hulu, and there's another documentary coming out on Ruby Franke, and then also on the Gabby Petito case. And so we might take a look at that and collaborate together to talk about those too. So he was awesome off stream. So I love people that are just kind, and that the same way he shows up in front of all of you, like when we were behind the scenes before we started recording or after, he was the exact same way. Like I love it when that happens. And so it was an honor to get to be on his channel. And like I said, we will definitely collaborate again. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Y'all have a good one. Bye.